Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Saute with Dijava. This is your host Dushant. I am a certified pastry chef and also a TV show winner. Today on the request of my Instagram fans, I am bringing to you the recipe for Manakish. If you aren't already following me on Instagram, you can do so by checking out my handle Dush_Java. That is my handle on Instagram. So you can check out my Instagram page and see what I upload. I tend to put in a few stories of behind the scenes while I'm baking and also take up your suggestions on what recipes you would like. So you can check out my Instagram channel. So let's begin with the recipe. But first I'd like to request if you could view this video completely until the end, as I have an amazing tip for you lined up right at the end of the video. To begin the recipe, let's check out our ingredients for today. So firstly, we'll be requiring 500 grams of a bread flour or all-purpose flour. Next, we'll be requiring 5 grams of instant yeast. You can also use active dry yeast. In that case, you would have to activate your yeast before adding it to the flour. Next, you would require sugar. It's a fine granule crystal white sugar, 15 grams of this. 50 grams of vegetable oil. You can use any oil you prefer. I am using sunflower oil. 50 grams of milk powder. Again, you can use any brand, but this is the prominent ingredient in this recipe. And here we have 10 grams of salt. We would also require around 300 to 350 ml of water. It depends on how much your flour absorbs. We might also require a little bit of oil just for greasing, so you can use any oil. I prefer using olive oil then. Okay, so to begin the recipe, I've taken my stand mixer bowl and I've taken a sieve, and I'll be sieving the dry ingredients, which include the flour, salt, and milk powder. You need not sieve the sugar because it might not pass through your sieve. So sieve this completely and then add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so all the ingredients have been sieved. So next up, I'll be adding in the sugar. And I'll also be adding in the yeast. If you are using active dry yeast, I would suggest that you activate your yeast at this stage using 300 ml of the warm water. Yeast and sugar, you can mix all of that together and let it froth for 10-15 minutes and then add it to this mixture. So I've mixed all of these ingredients thoroughly. Now I'll be taking my stand mixer and adding water slowly, creating a nice dough. I have taken 350 ml water. We may require more or less. So I have my stand mixer set, and now I would be starting the stand mixer on a medium speed and adding the water slowly. You can add up to 350 ml, but around 300 ml is usually enough. But then again, it depends on the flour you're using and how much is its water retention. So let's start. Okay, so I have added around almost 350 ml already, and the dough has started forming inside the stand mixer. At this stage, I would let it knead for a few more minutes and then I would add in the oil. So until then, let's knead for at least another 2 to 3 minutes. Cool. So as you can see that most of the dough has come along pretty well. I have kneaded it for almost 3 to 4 minutes. Now is the time when I add the oil and I keep kneading it until my gluten has been generated. So let's start. So as you can see that the dough is ready. I have created a very soft dough for this, since Manakish requires a very nice and soft dough. And you can do the window test if you like for this. But I can judge, and the dough is ready. So now I'll just pull it out from this and put it in a greased bowl and let it proof for at least 45 minutes. Alrighty, but before we give it a nice rest, as I have always suggested, it is good to massage your dough a bit. So I have oiled the surface a bit, and I'm just giving it a nice relaxing massage. You know, it's been through a very rough day in the stand mixer. I was just kidding. But yeah, you need to relax your dough just a bit. Otherwise, it's too firm and it won't have the elasticity to actually rise. So you would give it a nice massage and see how smooth the dough is. Like, it's supposed to be just smooth. If your dough is rough, that means either you have kneaded it not pretty well or you have kneaded it way too much. Kneaded it not well, obviously you would know if you do your window test, which I've showed in my previous videos. Kneaded it too much, well, you have already kneaded it too much. You can still bake the bread. It's not like you can't bake overworked bread, but the texture wouldn't be the best. But nonetheless, I think this dough is just perfect. Now I'm just gonna pull in the edges and make a nice round ball and place it in a greased bowl and let it brew for at least 45 minutes. Cool. So beautiful dough, greased bowl. Come on, rest baby and rise to your best. It's time for the dough to rest, but not for us to rest, unfortunately. Since we're making Manakish, we would definitely require some toppings. Now the traditional topping is obviously zatar or zatar, as you would all name it. This is basically dried Arabic thyme, and you need to soak this in olive oil. So olive oil, you can take any olive oil, and you need to soak it enough, like at least as much as it covers the zatar completely. Now you'll notice after a bit this will start soaking up all the olive oil, so that will be great. I am also taking some beautiful homemade basil pesto, which I made just today, fresh for my Manakish, because I love to try something different. And also I'm taking a little bit of a pretty traditional cheese, which is called the Akavi cheese. That's the usual that goes on a Manakish. It's a little salty, so you may not want to season your Manakish at all. Now, if you are not having Akavi cheese, you need not worry. You can use the basic cheese that's available in the market, probably a mozzarella, or you can even use cheddar. I mean, there's no stopping of whatever you like, you can use. Also, toppings can be anything. You can even make a pizza out of your Manakish dough. It won't taste like a traditional pizza, but the toppings would definitely go with the dough that we are making today. But nonetheless, we are going through some traditional toppings today. So there's going to be zatar, there's going to be akabi cheese. You can work around with other vegetables. You can put in some labne if you have it. If you don't, then whatever toppings you like. You can make any toppings you like on a Manakish. If you're a non-vegetarian, you could go up with some meat toppings. You can make shish taouk, you can make chicken tikka, whatever you like, and you can top it off with your Manakish. So all of my toppings are ready. I'm going to keep this aside and I'm going to wait for my dough to rise, and then I'll show you how the rolling and the topping is done. So the dough has risen beautifully, and I'll be taking in some all-purpose flour, and I will be spreading it on the kitchen counter. Now, since it's a Manakish, it's okay to use flour on your kitchen counter, and I would be carefully turning this. So I would be just punching it down lightly, flooring the surface just a bit. Now I will massage it a bit, giving it a good mix. Now I've made it into a long loaf. So in a Manakish, you would require to dust your work surface constantly. Just do it a bit mindfully that we don't add in a lot. At this stage, I have already preheated my oven. It's at 200 degrees Celsius. A Manakish requires a high temperature. Now, just a quick update as to what all we would require. So at this stage, I would require a rolling pin. I will show you two methods to make the Manakish. Also, you would require a scraper. You would require a sheet of butter paper. I've taken two since two can fit into my oven at once. You can take one if you have a smaller oven. I'll show you why it's required. You would also require a fork or any sharp item to put indents into your Manakish. First things first, I'm gonna rub my hands very nicely with some flour. I don't want the dough to stick to my hands at all. Usually it's oil, in this case it's flour. Okay, hands dirty, but it's okay, that's what is required. Now I am gonna cut a decent piece. You need not have any measure or anything as such. Flatten, pull in, make a nice round ball. Okay, so the first way of doing it is to actually press it down like this, and you can pull it with fingers like how I'm showing. That's the traditional method of doing it. It's either you press it down to create a flat, nice and flat bread, or you keep pulling it like this till you elongate. Since it's an elastic dough, it will pull down eventually. So this is one method of doing it, but obviously it takes a lot of time. So the second and the easier method is to use a rolling pin. Now this is not always a desired method, but this is definitely an easier method to do. So you can roll it to whatever size you want. You want the thickness to be nothing more than, say, 3 to 4 mm. Even that's pretty thick. The thinner the better. And you can make it like an oval shape. You can do a round. It's totally upon you, whatever shape you like. So I've got a nice thin and long Manakish here. Now what I would be doing is I would be taking my paper, as I suggested earlier. I would be carefully pulling it up and placing it nicely on this. Now the reason why I am doing this in this case and not directly keeping it on the baking tray is the fact that I want the baking tray to be as hot as possible when I place the Manakish in. I don't want the baking tray to be cold and the Manakish to not fluff up as it is required. Now, fork, just put in indents so that it doesn't puff up too much. Okay, I think that's enough. So now whatever topping you're using, the first one what I'm making is the za'atar. So as you can see, it's a thick paste. You just add a little and you would just spread it around nicely. Now the amount, quantity, everything depends on you, how you prefer it. You can put in more olive oil if you prefer it to be very soft and easy to eat, or if you prefer flavor, then it would be less olive oil and more of the za'atar, like how I have done here. And you just spread it evenly. That's beautiful. Now I will be adding, I have sliced the cheese like this. I had the full block, so I'll just break pieces and I'll just keep it randomly. That's totally upon how you want and how much cheese you prefer on your Manakish. And there we have it. It's completely ready to go in the oven, but I would leave it aside for just 5 minutes, make another Manakish and put it in together. So sliding it aside. And this one, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to spread some lovely and beautiful homemade pesto sauce. Now I have not added any parmesan to this as of now. I personally feel that that helps keep the shelf life pretty long for the pesto. So I've added a lot of olive oil though, and a little bit of chili flakes since my family loves it spicy. So beautiful. And now I'm gonna sprinkle some beautiful parmesan. I have powdered parmesan. If you want, you can even use shredded. And there we have it. Look at beautiful Manakish. Now this will be going into the oven as soon as possible, and let's see how it turns out. Okay, so as you can see, both my Manakish are in the oven. It's almost 200 degrees. Now let them bake until they are golden and the cheese is melted. And there we have it. It's been around 7 minutes in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, and a beautiful Manakish is ready to eat. We have the pesto and we have the za'atar cheese, and since it's Akavi cheese, it doesn't melt that much, obviously. You can shred it and put it as well if you like. So our beautiful Manakish is ready to eat. This is supposed to be eaten hot. You can do whatever variations and varieties you want. You can even make it into a dessert by applying some Nutella and fruits, whatever you like. So I hope you guys enjoyed the recipe for Manakish. Do try it out and post your pictures on Instagram and tag me on my handle, that's at @dush_java. Also, I suggested earlier a tip. When you're baking bread, you need to really give it some time. So when you're letting your bread proof, which is letting it rise, you would want to give it enough and ample time to let it rise completely to its double. Do not rush and do not hurry up. Do prove your bread well and bake it, and do share your pictures as suggested, and I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below.